The day Maya Richardson Carter signed her divorce papers, she wasn't crying. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't begging. She was just still. Her pen hovered over the paper. 15 years of marriage reduced to 12 pages of legal language. 15 years of love, sacrifice, and broken promises sitting in a manila folder. And across the table sat the man she had given everything to, Derek Carter, billionaire, tech genius, cover of Forbes magazine 3 times, the man every business school studied. The man every young entrepreneur wanted to become, the man Maya didn't recognize anymore. Derek adjusted his Rolex. A $200,000 watch on a wrist Maya used to hold when they had nothing. He slid the final document toward her. "Just sign it, Maya." His voice was ice, no emotion, no hesitation, like he was closing a business deal, not ending a marriage. Maya looked up slowly. She searched his face for something, anything, a flicker of the man who used to dance with her in their tiny kitchen. The man who used to cry on her shoulder when investors rejected him. The man who once held her face in his hands and whispered, "When I make it, baby, we making it together, I promise you that." But that man was gone. Money had changed him, power had changed him, and another woman had changed everything. Maya picked up the pen. Her hand was steady. Her heart was shattered, but her hand was steady. She signed her name. Then she slid the papers back across the table. Derek smiled, not a warm smile. Not a grateful smile, a victorious smile, the smile of a man who believed he had won. What Derek didn't know was this. In that moment, as his wife's signature dried on those papers, something else was happening, something hidden in old contracts and forgotten documents, something that would bring his entire empire crumbling down around him. Because Maya Richardson Carter didn't just sign away her marriage that day. She unknowingly triggered the beginning of her husband's complete destruction. And her own resurrection. But how did they get here? How did a love story that started with nothing become a war worth billions? To understand what happened in that conference room, we need to go back. Back to the very beginning. Back to when Derek Carter wasn't a billionaire. Back to when Maya Richardson was just a young woman working herself to the bone for a man who swore he would never forget her sacrifice. Before we go back in time, do me a favor. If you're already invested in Maya's story, hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell. This story is going to take you through emotions you weren't expecting. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Now let's begin. 10 years earlier, Atlanta looked different to Maya Richardson. She wasn't living in a mansion in Buckhead. She wasn't being driven around in a Mercedes. She wasn't wearing designer clothes or attending galas with celebrities. No, 10 years earlier, Maya was tired, bone tired. The kind of tired that settles into your soul and makes you forget what it feels like to be rested. At 25 years old, Maya worked 2 jobs. During the day, she worked at a grocery store called Fresh Mart on the South Side. She worked the register from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. 8 hours of scanning groceries, dealing with rude customers, and smiling when she wanted to scream. Then, 3 days a week, she took the bus across town to clean offices in Midtown. She would arrive at 5 in the evening and work until 11 at night, vacuuming carpets, scrubbing bathrooms, emptying trash cans full of food that cost more than her weekly paycheck. Her body ached constantly. Her feet screamed at her every night, but Maya never complained. Because Maya had something that kept her going. She had Derek, and she had his dream. Derek Carter lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in a building that probably should have been condemned. The ceiling leaked when it rained. The heat barely worked in winter. The neighbors played music so loud the walls vibrated. But Derek didn't see any of that. All Derek saw was his laptop screen. He was building something, a software application that would change how businesses managed their data. He called it ConnectFlow. He spent 18 hours a day working on it, sometimes 20. Sometimes he would code until the sun came up, then pass out for a few hours, then start again. Maya didn't fully understand what Derek was building. She didn't know anything about software or coding or venture capital, but she understood something else. She understood the fire in Derek's eyes. She understood the hunger in his voice when he talked about his vision. She understood that this man was going to be somebody. And she wanted to be there when it happened. They had met at a bus stop. Maya was coming home from her cleaning job. It was almost midnight. She was exhausted, her feet throbbing in her worn-out sneakers. The bus was late, like always. There was this man, tall, handsome, carrying a backpack that looked like it was about to fall apart. He was packing back and forth, talking to himself, waving his hands like he was having an argument with an invisible person. Maya had watched him for a minute, half amused, half concerned. Finally, she spoke up. "Okay over there?" Maya asked. Derek stopped packing. He looked at her like he had just realized she existed. "Oh, yeah, sorry," Derek said. I'm practicing." "Practicing what?" Maya asked. "My pitch," Derek said. "I have a meeting with an investor tomorrow, my first real meeting, and I keep messing up the part where I explain the revenue model." Maya had no idea what a revenue model was, but she could see the nervousness in his eyes, the desperation. "Can I hear it?" Maya asked. Derek blinked. "You want to hear my pitch?" "I got nothing but time," Maya said. "Bus is late anyway." So Derek pitched her right there at the bus stop. For 15 minutes, he explained Connect Flow. He talked about data integration and cloud computing and enterprise solutions. Maya understood maybe 10% of it, but she watched his face. She watched how his eyes lit up, how his voice got stronger, how he transformed from a nervous man into someone who believed in something with his whole heart. When he finished, Maya nodded slowly. "I don't understand most of what you just said," Maya told him. "But I believe you, and if that investor has any sense, they'll believe you too." Derek stared at her for a long moment, then he smiled, not a polished smile, not a business smile, a real smile. "What's your name?" Derek asked. "Maya," she said. "Maya," Derek repeated like he was memorizing it. "I'm Derek Carter." "Nice to meet you, Derek Carter," Maya said. "Now fix that part about the revenue model. You stumbled over it twice." Derek laughed. A genuine laugh that echoed in the empty street. The bus came, they sat together, they talked until Maya's stop. And when she got off that bus, she looked back and saw Derek watching her through the window. Something had started, something neither of them could have predicted. They started dating a month later. It wasn't fancy. They couldn't afford fancy. Their first date was at a Waffle House at 2 in the morning because that's when Maya got off her cleaning shift. Their second date was a walk through Piedmont Park because walking was free. Their third date was Maya coming to Derek's apartment to help him prepare for another investor meeting. That third date changed everything. Maya walked into Derek's apartment and stopped cold. "Derek," Maya said slowly, "it smells like something died in here." Derek looked up from his laptop. He had dark circles under his eyes, his clothes were wrinkled. There were empty instant noodle cups scattered across every surface. "Been busy," Derek said. "Busy trying to grow a new species of mold?" Maya asked. She spent the next 3 hours cleaning his apartment. She threw away the noodle cups. She washed the dishes that had been sitting in the sink for God knows how long. She opened the windows to let in fresh air. And while she cleaned, Derek talked. He told her about his mother, who worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over their heads after his father left. He told her about watching her come home exhausted every night, barely able to stand, but still finding the energy to help him with his homework. He told her about the promise he made to himself when he was 12 years old. "I'm gonna make it, Maya," Derek said, his voice intense. "I'm gonna be successful, not just for me, for my mama, for everyone who said I couldn't. I'm gonna build something that matters." Maya stopped wiping the counter. She turned to look at him. "I believe you," Maya said, and she meant it. From that day forward, Maya became more than Derek's girlfriend. She became his partner in the truest sense of the word. She would come over after her cleaning shifts and sit on his worn-out couch while he worked. She would ask him questions about his progress. She would listen to him practice his pitches. She would make him eat real food instead of instant noodles. When Derek got frustrated and wanted to quit, Maya wouldn't let him. "Not quitting," Maya would say firmly. "Not after everything you've put into this, not when you're this close." "Do you know I'm close?" Derek would ask. "Because I can see it in your eyes," Maya would say. "You're different than you were 6 months ago. You're sharper. You're better. You're ready. You just need someone to give you a chance." Derek would look at her with something in his eyes, something like wonder, like he couldn't believe she was real. "Why do you believe in me so much?" Derek asked one night. "You barely know me." Maya thought about the question carefully. "My grandmother raised me," Maya said. "She used to say, 'Baby, you can tell a lot about a person by watching them when things get hard. Anybody can smile when life is easy. But what do they do when life is beating them down?'" Maya looked at Derek. "I've watched you, Derek Carter," Maya continued. "I've watched you get rejected by investor after investor. I've watched you barely afford to eat. I've watched you work until you can't keep your eyes open. And not once have I seen you give up. Not once have I heard you blame somebody else. You just keep going." She paused. "That's why I believe in you," Maya said. "Because you believe in yourself, even when nobody else does." Derek didn't say anything for a long moment, then he stood up. He walked over to where Maya was sitting. He took her face in his hands, and he kissed her. When they pulled apart, Derek looked into her eyes. "Maya Richardson," Derek said. "I swear to God, when I make it, we making it together. You hear me? Whatever I build, it's ours, you and me. I will never forget what you're doing for me. Never." Maya smiled. "I'm gonna hold you to that, Derek Carter," Maya said. She had no way of knowing how much those words would haunt her years later. 6 months into their relationship, disaster struck. Derek was in the middle of preparing for his biggest meeting yet. A major venture capital firm called Apex Investments had agreed to hear his pitch. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for, the one that could change everything. And then his laptop died, not a slow death. A sudden, catastrophic death. The screen went black in the middle of Derek working. Smoke started coming out of the keyboard. Years of code. Months of presentations. Everything gone. Derek sat on his couch, staring at the dead laptop, his face completely blank. Maya had never seen him like this. The fire in his eyes was gone. There was nothing there, just emptiness. It's over, Derek whispered. All of it gone. The meeting's in 2 weeks. I can't rebuild all of that in 2 weeks. It's over. Maya felt her heart crack watching him, but she didn't let him see her fear. No, Maya said firmly. Derek looked up. What? I said no, Maya repeated. It's not over. Backed up your work, right? Derek shook his head slowly. Some of it, not all of it. I was gonna do a full backup this weekend. I kept putting it off. I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. He dropped his head into his hands. Maya sat down next to him. She pulled his hands away from his face. She made him look at her. Listen to me, Maya said. We are not giving up, you hear me? You have 2 weeks. We're gonna figure this out. You're gonna rebuild what you can. You're gonna remember what you can't. And you're gonna walk into that meeting and blow them away. Derek asked, his voice breaking. I don't even have a laptop anymore. Maya was quiet for a moment, then she made a decision that would define their relationship for years to come. Have some money saved, Maya said quietly. My emergency fund, it's not much, but it's enough. Derek's eyes went wide. Maya, no, Derek said. I can't take your emergency fund. That's everything you have. It's not everything I have, Maya said. I have you, and I have your dream, and I believe in both. Derek stared at her. That money is for emergencies, Derek protested weakly. Derek, Maya said. If this isn't an emergency, I don't know what is. This is your shot. This is everything you've been working for. I'm not gonna let you lose it because of a broken laptop. The next day, Maya withdrew $1,200 from her savings account. It was everything she had, every dollar she had scraped together from 2 jobs. Every dollar she had saved by eating cheap food and wearing the same clothes for years. Every dollar her grandmother had taught her to set aside for a rainy day. She used it to buy Derek a new laptop. Not a fancy one, but a good one. Good enough. Derek cried when she gave it to him, actually cried. He wrapped his arms around her and held her so tight she could barely breathe. I'm gonna pay you back, Derek whispered. I swear on everything I love, Maya. I'm gonna pay you back 100 times over. 1,000 times over. You're never gonna have to worry about money again, I promise. Maya just held him. I believe you, Maya said, and she did. The next 2 weeks were the most intense of their lives. Derek worked like a man possessed. 18 hours a day, 20 hours, he barely slept. He barely ate. He rebuilt his pitch from memory. He recreated his presentations. He refined his business model until it was sharper than it had ever been, and Maya was there every step of the way. She brought him food when he forgot to eat. She made him take breaks when he was about to collapse. She read through his pitch and pointed out parts that didn't make sense. She timed his presentation over and over until it was exactly perfect. She wasn't building software, but she was building something. She was building the foundation of a dream. The day of the meeting arrived. Derek stood in front of the bathroom mirror in Maya's apartment, fixing his tie. It was a second-hand tie she had found at a thrift store, but it looked expensive if you didn't look too closely. His hands were shaking. Maya came up behind him. She met his eyes in the mirror. Ready, Maya said. What if I'm not? Derek asked. What if I mess up? What if they say no like everyone else? Maya turned him around to face her. Then you try again, Maya said. And again, until someone says yes, because somebody is going to say yes, Derek, I can feel it. Today is your day. Derek took a deep breath. Love you, Derek said. It was the first time he had said it. Maya smiled, her eyes filling with tears she refused to let fall. Love you too, Maya said. Now go get our future. Derek kissed her, then he walked out the door. 6 hours later, Maya's phone rang. She was at work at the grocery store, scanning items for a customer who was taking forever to decide if she really needed 2 gallons of milk. The phone buzzed in her pocket. Once, twice, 3 times. Maya apologized to the customer and checked her phone. It was Derek. Her heart stopped. Hello, Maya answered. Silence, then Derek's voice, but it didn't sound like Derek. It sounded like someone who had just witnessed a miracle. They said yes, Derek whispered. Maya almost dropped her phone. Maya breathed. They said yes, baby, Derek repeated, his voice growing stronger. They said yes, they said yes, they said yes. Maya screamed. Right there in the middle of Fresh Mart, she screamed. The customer with the milk jumped back. The manager came running. Other customers turned to stare. Maya didn't care. Much? Maya asked, tears streaming down her face. $2 million, Derek said, and she could hear him crying too. $2 million to start, and more if we hit our targets. Maya, it's happening. Oh my God, it's actually happening. Maya laughed and cried at the same time. I told you, Maya said. I told you someone would say yes. You did, Derek said. You believed when nobody else did. You sacrificed when nobody else would. Baby, I meant what I said. We're making it together. This is ours, yours and mine. I'm never gonna forget what you did for me. Never. Maya wiped her eyes. You better not forget, Maya teased. I won't, Derek promised. I love you, Maya Richardson, and one day I'm gonna make you Maya Carter, and we're gonna have everything we ever dreamed of. I'm gonna hold you to that, Maya said. In that moment, standing in the middle of a grocery store with tears running down her face, Maya believed that everything was going to be perfect. She believed that the hard times were over. She believed that love and loyalty would be rewarded. She believed that Derek Carter would never change. She was wrong. If you're feeling something right now, if Maya's sacrifice is making your heart ache, then you're already connected to this story. But trust me, we're just getting started. What happens next is going to shake you. Make sure you're subscribed because the next chapter is where everything falls apart, where betrayal walks in wearing designer heels, where the man Maya sacrificed everything for says something that will break your heart in ways you didn't know it could break. But before we get there, let me tell you how success changed Derek Carter. 2 years after Apex Investments said yes, ConnectFlow exploded. The software Derek built from nothing became the fastest-growing data management platform in the country. Companies couldn't get enough of it. Every business magazine wanted to feature it. Every tech blog wanted to analyze it. Derek Carter became a star. Maya and Derek got married in a small ceremony at Atlanta City Hall. They couldn't afford a big wedding yet, but Derek promised her something. One day, baby, Derek said, sliding a simple gold band onto her finger. One day I'm gonna give you the wedding you deserve. I'm gonna fly you to Paris. I'm gonna put diamonds on every finger. I'm gonna show the whole world how much I love you. Maya just smiled. I don't need Paris, Maya said. I just need you. And for a while, that was enough. The money started coming in faster than they could count it. First, they moved out of Derek's tiny apartment into a condo in Midtown. Then they moved from the condo into a house in Buckhead. Then they moved from the house into a mansion that had a gate and a fountain and more rooms than Maya knew what to do with. Maya quit her jobs. For the first time in her adult life, she didn't have to wake up at 5 in the morning. She didn't have to scrub toilets or scan groceries. She didn't have to count pennies or worry about which bills she could afford to pay. She was free. But freedom felt strange, because while Maya was adjusting to a life of luxury, Derek was disappearing into a life of celebrity. At first, the changes were small. Derek started working longer hours. That was understandable. He was running a company now. Then he started traveling more. Investor meetings in New York. Conference appearances in San Francisco. Business trips to London, Tokyo, Dubai. Maya tried to go with him sometimes, but Derek always had a reason why she couldn't. It's gonna be boring, Derek would say. Just meetings all day, you'd hate it. Trip is too hectic. I wouldn't be able to spend any time with you anyway. Time, baby, I promise. Next time. Next time never seemed to come. When Derek was home, he was different, not in obvious ways at first. In small ways that Maya noticed but couldn't quite name. He stopped asking about her day. He stopped laughing at her jokes. He stopped reaching for her hand when they walked through the house. He started spending more time on his phone, even during dinner, even in bed. His phone was always in his hand, always lighting up with notifications, always pulling his attention away from her. Who are you texting? Maya asked one night. Work stuff, Derek said without looking up. At 11 at night, Maya asked. Derek finally looked at her, and there was something in his eyes that made her stomach turn. Something like annoyance. Maya, I run $1 billion company, Derek said. Business doesn't stop because it's bedtime. He turned back to his phone. Maya lay there in silence. Something was wrong, she could feel it, but she didn't want to believe it. The first real crack came at the Entrepreneur of the Year awards ceremony. Derek won. Of course he won. He was the golden boy of the tech industry now. Every publication wanted to crown him. Every network wanted to interview him. Maya sat in the audience in a beautiful dress Derek had bought her. Her hair was done. Her makeup was perfect. She looked like she belonged there, even though part of her still felt like the girl scrubbing office floors in Midtown. When Derek walked up to accept his award, Maya's heart swelled with pride. This was the man she believed in. This was the dream she helped build. This was everything they had worked for together. The host asked Derek a question. Derek, this is an incredible achievement. Would you say deserves credit for helping you get here? Maya sat up straighter. She was ready to smile when he said her name, ready to feel seen, ready to feel valued, ready to feel like all those sacrifices had been worth it. Derek smiled his new smile, his polished, public smile. You know, Derek said, I have to credit my own determination and vision. I believed in Connect Flow when nobody else did. I worked 18-hour days for years. I sacrificed everything, and I never gave up on myself. Audience applauded. Maya didn't move. She sat there frozen, waiting for him to continue, waiting for him to say, and I couldn't have done it without my incredible wife, Maya. But he didn't. He kept talking. About his company, about his plans, about his legacy. Not once did he mention her name. Not once did he acknowledge the woman who gave him her life savings. Not once did he recognize the woman who held him when he cried. Not once did he thank the woman who believed in him when the world laughed. When Derek returned to his seat, he was beaming. How was that? Derek asked, squeezing her hand. Maya looked at him, and for the first time she saw a stranger. It was great, Maya said quietly, but something inside her cracked. That night, lying in their bed in their mansion in Buckhead, Maya stared at the ceiling while Derek snored beside her. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her head. Baby, you can tell a lot about a person by watching them when things get hard. But Mama Gwen never told her what to look for when things got easy. When success came and changed the man she loved, when gratitude got buried under ambition, when loyalty became invisible, Maya turned her head and looked at her husband, the man she had sacrificed everything for, the man who had forgotten every sacrifice she made. She didn't know it yet, but the worst was still coming. Because somewhere in this city, there was a woman named Simone Blake, and she was about to destroy everything Maya had built, and in the end, Maya would discover that the man who promised to never forget her had already started planning a future that didn't include her at all. But Maya would also discover something else, something hidden in old contracts, something Derek never thought would matter, something that would change everything. That discovery is coming next. And let me tell you, when Maya finds those messages on Derek's tablet, when she confronts him and hears the words that shatter her world, when the truth about Simone Blake comes out, you're going to feel things you weren't prepared to feel. Maya Carter woke up at 3:47 in the morning to an empty bed. She reached across the sheets, searching for her husband's warmth. But the space beside her was cold. Like he had been gone for hours. This wasn't unusual anymore. Derek had been sleeping less and less, working more and more, coming to bed after midnight and leaving before dawn. But tonight, something felt different. Maya lay there in the darkness, listening. The house was silent, too silent. She pushed back the silk covers and slipped out of bed. Her feet touched the cold marble floor as she walked toward the bedroom door. The hallway was dark except for a faint glow coming from Derek's home office at the end of the corridor. Maya walked slowly toward the light. As she got closer, she could hear something, Derek's voice low, soft, almost tender. Maya froze outside the office door, which was slightly open. Miss you too, Derek was saying. No, I can't talk long, she might wake up. Maya's heart stopped. I know, Derek continued. Soon, I promise, everything is almost in place, just be patient a little longer. Silence, then Derek laughed. A warm, genuine laugh that Maya hadn't heard directed at her in months. You know I love you, Derek said. More than anything, just hold on, it's almost over. Maya's legs went weak. She stumbled backward. Her shoulder hit the wall with a soft thud. Inside the office, Derek's voice stopped abruptly. I gotta go, Derek whispered quickly. I'll call you tomorrow. Maya heard his footsteps approaching the door. She ran, silent and quick. She made it back to the bedroom before Derek emerged. She slipped under the covers and closed her eyes, forcing her breathing to slow down. Her heart was pounding so hard she was sure he would hear it. The bedroom door opened. Derek's footsteps crossed the room. The mattress shifted as he climbed into bed. Maya kept her eyes closed, kept her breathing steady, pretended to be asleep. Derek settled beside her. Within minutes, he was snoring. But Maya didn't sleep. She lay there until the sun came up, her mind racing, her heart breaking, her world falling apart piece by piece. Now before we continue, I need you to do something for me. If Maya's story is hitting you in your soul right now, if you're already feeling the pain she's feeling, drop a comment and let me know. And make sure you're subscribed because what happens next in this episode is going to take you through emotions you weren't ready for. Trust me. Now let's continue. The next morning, Maya sat at the breakfast table pretending everything was normal. Derek sat across from her, scrolling through his phone while eating eggs that their private chef had prepared. He didn't look up. He didn't notice the dark circles under Maya's eyes. He didn't notice the way her hands trembled slightly as she lifted her coffee cup. "I have meetings all day," Derek said, still looking at his phone. "Probably won't be home until late." "Okay," Maya said quietly. Derek finally glanced up. "You all right? You look tired." Maya forced a smile. "Didn't sleep well, bad dreams." Derek nodded absently, already looking back at his phone. "Take something for it, I gotta run." He stood up. He didn't kiss her goodbye, he just walked out. Maya listened to his car pull out of the driveway. She listened until the sound of the engine faded into silence. Then she put down her coffee cup, and she started to think. Who was the woman on the phone? What did Derek mean by "it's almost over"? What was almost in place? Maya needed answers, but she knew she had to be smart about this. If she confronted Derek without proof, he would deny everything. He would make her feel crazy. He would turn it around on her somehow. That's what people like him did. Maya needed evidence. She spent the rest of the morning searching. She went through Derek's desk drawers. Nothing unusual. She checked his closets. Nothing out of place. She looked through the pockets of his suits. Empty. She was about to give up when she remembered something: Derek's tablet. He used it mostly for reading business documents and watching videos. He often left it lying around the house because he didn't think of it as important. Maya found it on the nightstand in their bedroom. She picked it up. Her hands were shaking. The tablet wasn't password protected. Derek never bothered because he thought Maya didn't care about his devices. He was wrong. Maya opened the tablet. At first, she didn't know what she was looking for. She checked his email. Work stuff mostly. Nothing suspicious. She checked his browser history, business articles, tech news, nothing unusual. Then she saw it, a messaging app one she didn't recognize. Maya opened it and her world collapsed. The first thing she saw was a name: Simone, just Simone. No last name. Maya scrolled through the messages. There were thousands of them, going back months, maybe years. Her eyes scanned the words, each one cutting deeper than the last. "I can't stop thinking about you. Last night was incredible. I wish I was waking up next to you. Doesn't understand me like you do. Soon, baby. Soon we'll be together for real." Maya kept scrolling. Then she saw the photos, pictures of Derek and a woman, a beautiful woman, tall, elegant, professional looking. In some photos, they were at restaurants Maya had never been to. In others, they were at hotels in cities Maya had never visited. In one photo, the woman was wearing a necklace. A diamond necklace. Maya recognized it immediately. It was the necklace Derek said he had bought for his mother's birthday. The same necklace his mother never received. Because Derek's mother had been dead for 3 years, Maya dropped the tablet. It clattered against the floor. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. She couldn't process what she was seeing. 10 years of loyalty, 10 years of sacrifice, 10 years of believing in this man, 10 years of standing by his side, 10 years of giving everything she had. And this was what she got in return: lies, betrayal. Another woman wearing jewelry meant for a dead mother. Maya sank to the floor. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, she cried. Not quiet, dignified tears. Deep, body-shaking sobs that came from somewhere so deep inside her she didn't know it existed. She cried for the girl at the bus stop who believed in a stranger. She cried for the woman who gave away her savings for a laptop. She cried for the wife who sat in an audience waiting to hear her name. She cried for 10 years of invisible love. She cried until she had nothing left. Then she stopped. She wiped her eyes. She picked up the tablet. And she started taking screenshots because Maya Richardson Carter was hurt, but she wasn't stupid. If Derek Carter wanted a war, she would give him one. But first, she needed to know who she was fighting. It took Maya 3 hours to find out who Simone was. The answer made her sick. Simone Blake. Derek's business partner, chief operating officer of Carter Technologies. Maya had met her dozens of times at company events. Shook her hand, made small talk, complimented her outfits. And the whole time this woman was sleeping with her husband. Maya remembered the company Christmas party 8 months ago. She remembered how Simone had smiled at Derek. She remembered how Derek had laughed at something Simone said. She remembered feeling a small twist in her stomach, but she had ignored it because she trusted her husband, because she believed in their marriage, because she was a fool. Maya spent the rest of the day reading through the messages. It was torture, but she couldn't stop. She needed to understand exactly what she was dealing with. The messages painted a clear picture. Derek and Simone had been involved for at least 2 years. They had been careful, secretive, using this hidden app to communicate. They had met in hotel rooms across the country during Derek's business trips. And they had plans, big plans. In one message from 3 weeks ago, Derek had written something that made Maya's blood turn to ice. Divorce papers are almost ready. My lawyers say we can file next month. Then you and me, baby. Finally, the way it should have been from the beginning. Divorce papers. Derek was planning to divorce her. He was going to throw her away. After everything she had done, after everything she had sacrificed, after helping him build his empire from nothing. He was going to toss her aside like she was nothing and run off with his business partner. Maya read that message 5 times. Each time, she felt something changing inside her. The heartbreak was still there, but something else was growing alongside it, something harder, something colder, something that felt like steel being forged in fire. Maya Carter was done crying. Now she was getting ready to fight. That evening, Maya called her best friend. Patricia Wells picked up on the second ring. "Girl, what's wrong?" Patricia asked immediately. "You sound weird." "I need you to come over," Maya said. "Now, and bring wine, a lot of wine." 45 minutes later, Patricia was sitting on Maya's couch with her mouth hanging open. Maya had shown her everything, the messages, the photos, the plans for divorce. Patricia was speechless, and Patricia was never speechless. "I'm going to kill him," Patricia finally said. "I'm actually going to kill him. I know people, Maya. I know people who know people. We can make this look like an accident," Maya said. "I'm serious," Patricia continued. "He can fall down some stairs. He can have a car accident. Can choke on his own lies. I don't care. I will end this man," Maya said again, this time with a small smile. Patricia took a breath. "Sorry, Maya, I can't believe this. After everything you did for him, after everything you sacrificed, this is how he repays you." "Apparently," Maya said quietly. Patricia grabbed Maya's hand. "What are you going to do?" Maya looked at her best friend. "I don't know yet," Maya admitted. "But I'm not going down without a fight. I helped build that company. I was there before there was a company, before there were investors, before there was anything. I'm not walking away with nothing." Patricia nodded slowly. "Good, that's what I wanted to hear. So what's the first step?" Maya thought for a moment. "Need a lawyer," Maya said. "A good one, the best one, someone who won't be intimidated by Derek's money or his fancy legal team." Patricia's eyes lit up. "I know someone. My cousin's friend went through a nasty divorce last year. Her husband was some big-shot corporate type. Thought he could hide all his assets and leave her with nothing. But she had this lawyer. This woman tore him apart, got her everything she was entitled to and then some." "Is she?" Maya asked. "Her name is Denise Crawford," Patricia said. "And trust me, Maya, she's exactly who you need." Maya met Denise Crawford 3 days later at her office in downtown Atlanta. Denise was a tall black woman in her mid-40s with silver streaks in her natural hair and eyes that looked like they had seen every lie a man could tell. She wore a perfectly tailored suit and spoke with the confidence of someone who had won battles most people were afraid to even start. "Carter," Denise said, gesturing to a chair. "Please have a seat. Tell me what brings you here." Maya sat down, and she told her everything. The early years, the sacrifices, the laptop, the building of the company, the forgotten acknowledgement, the affair, the messages, the plans for divorce. Denise listened without interrupting. When Maya finished, Denise was quiet for a long moment, then she leaned forward. "Carter, I want you to listen to me very carefully," Denise said. "Your husband thinks he's in control of this situation. He thinks he can file for divorce, pay you some minimal settlement, and walk off into the sunset with his mistress." "Is that correct?" Maya nodded. Denise smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a shark who had just spotted prey. "He's wrong," Denise said. "He's very, very wrong, and I'm going to enjoy showing him exactly how wrong he is." Denise pulled out a legal pad. "Now," Denise continued, "I need you to tell me everything about the early days of Carter Technologies, every investment, every document you signed, every conversation you had about ownership. Leave nothing out." Maya thought back. She told Denise about the beginning, about the apartment with the leaking ceiling, about the broken laptop and the money she gave Derek to buy a new one. Then she remembered something she hadn't thought about in years. "There was a document," Maya said slowly. "When the first investors came in, Derek made me sign something. He said it was a romantic gesture, a way of thanking me for everything I did." Denise's eyes sharpened. "What kind of document?" "Equity shares," Maya said. "He gave me shares in the company. I don't remember how much. It didn't seem important at the time. The company wasn't worth anything yet." Denise put down her pen. "Mrs. Carter," Denise said carefully, "I need you to find that document. Whatever it takes, wherever it is, I need you to find it and bring it to me." Maya asked. "Is it important?" Denise leaned back in her chair. "Carter, if that document says what I think it says, your husband isn't going to be the one walking away with everything," Denise said. "You are." Maya went home that night with a mission. She searched through every drawer, every closet, every filing cabinet, every storage box. For hours she looked. And then at 2 in the morning she found it, in a box of old documents from their first apartment. Beneath tax returns from 10 years ago, folded and forgotten, a stock allocation agreement. Dated from the year Carter Technologies was founded, signed by Derek Carter, signed by Maya Richardson Carter. Maya read through the document with trembling hands. And when she saw the number, she had to read it 3 times to make sure she wasn't dreaming. 49%. Derek had given her 49% of the company's founding shares. At the time, those shares were worth nothing. But now, Carter Technologies was valued at over $15 billion, which meant Maya's shares were worth. She couldn't even do the math. Billions. Her shares were worth billions of dollars, and Derek had completely forgotten about them. Maya sat on the floor of her closet, holding that piece of paper. And for the first time since this nightmare began, she laughed. Derek thought he was going to leave her with nothing. He thought he was going to toss her aside like garbage. He thought he could erase 10 years of her sacrifice, but he had signed his own destruction years ago, and he didn't even remember. Maya delivered the document to Denise Crawford the next morning. Denise read through it carefully. Then she looked up at Maya with something like admiration in her eyes. "Mrs. Carter," Denise said. "Do you understand what this means?" Maya nodded. "I think so. Your husband is about to file for divorce thinking he's going to pay you a settlement and move on with his life," Denise said. "But these shares are legally yours. They were allocated to you as a founding partner. They've never been revoked or transferred. Your husband either forgot about them or assumed they didn't matter." Denise set the document down. "When this goes to court, we're not fighting for a settlement," Denise continued. "We're asserting your legal ownership of nearly half the company. Your husband isn't leaving you. You're taking what's already yours." Maya felt tears prick her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "Now we wait," Denise said. "Let him file first. Let him think he's in control. And then we show our hand." Maya nodded. She could be patient. She had been patient for 10 years. She could be patient a little longer. But here's the thing. Life has a way of speeding up when you least expect it. And what happened next pushed everything into motion faster than anyone anticipated. 2 weeks later, Derek came home early. Maya was in the living room reading a book when she heard his car pull into the driveway. It was 3 in the afternoon. Derek never came home at 3 in the afternoon. Maya set down her book. Derek walked into the living room. He looked strange, nervous, almost relieved. "Maya," Derek said, "we need to talk." Maya's heart started pounding, but her face remained calm. "'Kay," Maya said. "Let's talk." Derek sat down across from her. He took a deep breath. "Been doing a lot of thinking," Derek started. "About us, about our marriage, about where we're headed." Maya said nothing. She just watched him, waiting. "Truth is," Derek continued, "things haven't been right between us for a long time. We've grown apart. We want different things. We've become different people." Maya still said nothing. Derek shifted uncomfortably. I think we need to accept that this marriage isn't working anymore," Derek said. "And I think the best thing for both of us is to end it, cleanly, respectfully, without drama." He paused. Maya remained silent. Derek reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out an envelope. "I had my lawyers draw up some papers," Derek said. "It's a fair settlement, Maya, more than fair. You'll be taken care of. You won't have to worry about money. But I think this is for the best, for both of us." Place the envelope on the coffee table between them. Maya looked at the envelope, then she looked at Derek, and something shifted in her eyes. "Can I ask you something, Derek?" Maya asked quietly. Derek nodded. "Of course." "There's someone else?" Maya asked. The question hung in the air like smoke. Derek's face flickered just for a second, a flash of guilt, a flash of fear, then he covered it. "Maya, this isn't about anyone else," Derek said smoothly. "This is about us, about the fact that we've grown apart. It happens. People change. People change." There it was, the excuse she had been waiting for. Maya nodded slowly. "People change," Maya repeated. "That's your explanation after 10 years, after everything I did for you. People change." Derek's expression shifted. He hadn't expected pushback. "Maya, let's not make this difficult," Derek said. "I'm trying to handle this like adults. I'm offering you a generous settlement. You'll be financially secure for the rest of your life. There's no reason to get emotional about this." "No reason to get emotional." Maya felt the steel inside her grow harder. "Tell me about Simone," Maya said. Derek froze. His whole body went rigid. Derek asked. "Simone Blake," Maya said calmly. "Your business partner, the woman you've been sleeping with for the past 2 years, the woman you bought that diamond necklace for, the one you told me was for your mother's birthday, except your mother has been dead for 3 years, Derek." Derek's face went pale. do you? Derek started. Know everything, Maya interrupted. The messages, the photos, the hotel rooms, the plans for divorce, the conversations about how you can't wait to finally be with her. She paused. Did you think I was stupid, Derek? Maya asked. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Derek was silent. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. For the first time in years, Derek Carter had nothing to say. I trusted you, Maya continued, her voice steady. I believed in you when nobody else did. I gave you my savings when you had nothing. I held you when you cried. I stood by your side through every struggle, every rejection, every failure. I helped build your dream, Derek, our dream, and this is how you repay me. Derek found his voice. Maya, it's complicated, Derek started. You don't understand. Simone and I, we connect in ways that you and I never did. She understands my business, my ambition, my world. You've never been part of that world. You don't fit anymore. Maya stared at him. I don't fit, Maya repeated slowly. I don't fit into the world I helped you build. That's not what I meant, Derek said quickly. Yes, it is, Maya said. That's exactly what you meant. I was good enough when you were sleeping on a mattress on the floor. I was good enough when you couldn't afford groceries. I was good enough when nobody believed in you except me. But now that you're rich and famous, now I don't fit. Derek said nothing. Because there was nothing to say, Maya stood up. I'm not signing your papers, Maya said calmly. Derek looked up sharply. What? Not signing anything you give me, Maya repeated. You want a divorce, fine, but we're doing this through my lawyer. And trust me, Derek, you're not going to like what happens next. Derek stood up too. His face was changing. The nervousness was being replaced by something else, anger. Maya, don't make this harder than it needs to be, Derek warned. I have the best lawyers in the country. If you try to fight this, you'll lose. And you'll walk away with less than I'm offering you now. Maya smiled. It was the first genuine smile she had felt in months. I guess we'll see about that, Maya said. She turned and walked toward the door. Maya, Derek called after her. Maya, don't be stupid. You're nothing without me. You have nothing without me. Everything you have is because of me. Maya stopped. She turned back to face him. That's where you're wrong, Derek, Maya said. Everything you have is because of me. You just forgot. But don't worry, I'm going to remind you. She walked out the door, leaving Derek standing alone in his mansion, his face pale, his hands shaking. For the first time in years, Derek Carter was afraid. And he had every reason to be. 2 weeks later, Derek filed for divorce. The media exploded. Every news channel covered the story. Every gossip blog speculated about what went wrong. Every entertainment magazine ran photos of Derek and Simone together, confirming what everyone had suspected. The headlines were brutal. Tech mogul Derek Carter leaves wife for business partner. Carter Technologies CEO files for divorce after 10-year marriage. Rags to riches to scandal. The Derek Carter story. Maya watched the coverage from Patricia's living room. Patricia sat beside her, shaking her head in disgust. Look at him, Patricia said, pointing at the TV. Walking around with that woman like he's not ashamed, like he didn't just betray his wife of 10 years. News showed footage of Derek and Simone leaving a restaurant together. Simone was wearing sunglasses and a designer dress. Derek had his arm around her. They were smiling like they had already won. They think this is over, Maya said quietly. Patricia looked at her. It's not, Maya shook her head. Even close, Maya said. They have no idea what's coming. Court date was set for 3 months later. During those 3 months, Derek's lawyers tried everything. They offered Maya larger settlements. She refused. They threatened her with lengthy court battles. She didn't flinch. They tried to dig up dirt on her. They found nothing. Maya was clean, and Maya was patient. She met with Denise Crawford regularly, preparing their case. Denise had assembled a team of forensic accountants to examine every financial document from Carter Technologies' founding years. They found the original stock allocation agreement. They verified its authenticity. They traced the shares through every funding round, every restructuring, every corporate change. And they confirmed what Maya already knew. Her 49% stake in Carter Technologies was legally valid. It had never been revoked. It had never been transferred. It was still hers. It was worth billions. The day before the court date, Denise called Maya. We're ready, Denise said. Tomorrow we reveal everything. Are you prepared for what comes next? Maya looked out the window of her hotel room. She had moved out of the mansion a week after the confrontation with Derek. She couldn't stand being in that house anymore. I'm ready, Maya said. This is going to change everything, Denise warned. When the court sees those documents, when the world finds out what you're actually entitled to. Derek is going to lose more than money. He's going to lose his reputation, his company, everything. Maya was quiet for a moment. Part of her still loved the man Derek used to be, the man at the bus stop with the nervous pitch, the man who cried when she gave him her savings, the man who promised they would make it together. But that man was gone, and Maya couldn't save someone who didn't want to be saved. "Ready," Maya repeated. The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled the gallery. Photographers waited outside. The whole world was watching the dissolution of a billion-dollar marriage. Derek sat at one table with his team of expensive lawyers. He looked confident, almost smug. Simone sat in the gallery behind him, wearing a satisfied smile. They had no idea what was about to happen. Maya sat at the other table with Denise Crawford. She was calm, centered, ready. The judge entered. Everyone rose, and the proceedings began. Derek's lawyers went first. They laid out their case with polished precision. They presented Derek as a self-made billionaire who had built his empire through his own genius and hard work. They portrayed Maya as a loving wife who had been supported financially throughout the marriage and deserved a fair settlement. They offered her $50 million, a generous amount by most standards, but a fraction of what the company was actually worth. When they finished, the judge turned to Maya's table. "Carter," the judge said. "Your response." Denise stood up. "Your Honor," Denise said, "we appreciate opposing counsel's presentation. However, we believe there are some crucial facts that have been overlooked. Facts that will significantly impact the outcome of these proceedings." Derek's lead lawyer looked confused. "What facts?" Denise smiled. "We would like to submit Exhibit A into evidence," Denise said. She handed a document to the court clerk. The clerk passed copies to the judge and opposing counsel. Derek's lawyer looked at the document. His face went pale. Derek grabbed the document from his lawyer's hands, and Maya watched as her husband's confident expression crumbled into shock, then horror, then pure, undiluted panic. What is this?" Derek stammered. "That, Mr. Carter," Denise said, "is the original stock allocation agreement from the founding of Carter Technologies, signed by you, witnessed by your original corporate attorney. It clearly states that your wife, Maya Richardson Carter, was granted 49% of the company's founding shares as recognition for her financial and personal contributions to the company's creation." Courtroom erupted in murmurs. Derek's face was white as paper. "Those shares were never revoked," Denise continued. "They were never transferred. They have been held in Mrs. Carter's name for over a decade. Under Georgia law, those shares remain her legal property. Which means, Your Honor, that Mrs. Carter is entitled to significantly more than the $50 million opposing counsel has offered." The judge studied the document carefully. Derek was gripping the table like he might collapse. "Much more?" the judge asked. Denise paused for effect. "Based on Carter Technologies' current valuation of approximately $15 billion, Mrs. Carter's 49% stake is worth approximately $7.3 billion. Silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then chaos. Derek shot to his feet. "This is insane. This is fraud. I never meant for those shares to be real. It was a symbolic gesture. It wasn't supposed to actually mean." Judge banged her gavel. "Mr. Carter, control yourself or you will be removed from this courtroom." Derek's lawyers pulled him back down into his seat. His face was red. His hands were shaking. He looked like a man watching his entire world collapse, because he was. "Your Honor," Derek's lawyer said desperately, "we need time to review this document. We had no knowledge of its existence. This is highly irregular." "The document is over a decade old," Denise responded. "It was filed with the original corporate paperwork for Carter Technologies. Mr. Carter's own legal team should have been aware of it. The fact that they weren't speaks to negligence, not invalidity." The judge nodded slowly. "I'm going to take a brief recess to review this document thoroughly," the judge said. "But I will say this. If this stock allocation agreement is authentic and legally binding, it will significantly impact my ruling." Gavel came down. The courtroom buzzed with shock. Derek sat frozen. Maya looked over at him. For a moment, their eyes met. And Maya saw something she hadn't seen in years: fear. Derek Carter, the billionaire genius, the man who had everything, the man who thought he could throw her away like garbage. He was terrified. Maya didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply held his gaze for a moment. Then she turned away. She had nothing left to say to him. In the gallery, Simone Blake's satisfied smile had vanished, replaced by something that looked a lot like calculation. The kind of calculation a woman makes when she realizes the money she was counting on might not be there anymore. Maya noticed Simone's expression, and she understood something clearly. Simone hadn't fallen in love with Derek. She had fallen in love with what Derek represented: power, wealth, status. And if those things disappeared, so would Simone. The recess lasted 2 hours. When the court reconvened, the judge's face was serious. "Have reviewed the stock allocation agreement submitted by Mrs. Carter's counsel," the judge announced. "I have also consulted with forensic document experts available to the court. The document appears to be authentic. The signatures have been verified. The filing dates correspond with Carter Technologies' original incorporation records." Derek's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, surely there must be some way to contest this. Some legal argument that invalidates these shares after so many years. The document is legally binding." The judge said firmly, "Mr. Carter voluntarily granted these shares to his wife as compensation for her contributions to the company's founding. There is no evidence that these shares were ever legally revoked or transferred. Under Georgia property law, they remain Mrs. Carter's legal property." The judge paused. "Therefore, it is my ruling that Mrs. Maya Richardson Carter is entitled to her full ownership stake in Carter Technologies. All assets, dividends, and rights associated with those shares belong to her. Additionally, considering the circumstances of this divorce, including evidence of Mr. Carter's infidelity, I am awarding Mrs. Carter primary ownership of the marital home and additional compensatory damages." The final number hit the courtroom like a bomb. Maya was walking away with half of everything Derek had built, billions of dollars, half the company, the mansion, everything. Derek's face was gray. He looked like he had aged 10 years in 2 hours. His lawyers were silent. There was nothing left to say. Maya stood up. She gathered her things, and without looking at Derek, she walked toward the courtroom doors. As she passed the gallery, she heard Simone whisper frantically to Derek, "This can't be right. There has to be something we can do. Derek, Derek, say something." But Derek had nothing, no words, no plans, no escape. He was done. Maya pushed through the courtroom doors and stepped into the hallway. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions, but Maya didn't stop. She walked through the chaos with her head held high, and somewhere deep inside, a voice that sounded like her grandmother whispered, "You did it, baby, you did it." But this story isn't over yet, because what happened in that courtroom was just the beginning. The fallout from that verdict would send shockwaves through Derek's entire world. His company, his reputation, his relationships, everything was about to crumble. And Maya was about to rise higher than anyone ever imagined. But first, she would face one final test, a moment that would prove exactly what kind of woman she had become. If you've been on this journey with Maya, if you felt her pain and now you're feeling her triumph, then you need to see how this story ends. Because the final face of Maya's story is coming, and it's going to leave you speechless. What happens when Derek loses everything? What happens when Simone abandons him? What happens when the company needs a leader and they turn to the woman everyone underestimated? The next chapter has all the answers. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss the ending. 6 months after the divorce verdict, Derek Carter stood in his penthouse apartment staring at a wall of television screens. Every single one was talking about him, but not the way they used to, not the glowing profiles, not the admiring interviews, not the magazine covers celebrating his genius. No, these were different. Carter Technologies' stock plummets for the 5th consecutive week. Investors flee as confidence in Derek Carter's leadership collapses. Board members reportedly discussing removal of founder and CEO. Former employees described toxic culture under Carter's leadership. Derek picked up the remote and turned off every screen, but the silence was worse. Because in the silence, he could hear the truth. Everything was falling apart, and he had no one to blame but himself. Now, before I tell you what happened to Derek and how Maya's story reaches its incredible conclusion, I need you to do something. If you've been riding with Maya since, if you felt every heartbreak and every triumph, drop a comment right now. Tell me what you think Maya should do next. And make sure that subscribe button is hit and that notification bell is ringing, because this final chapter is going to take you on a ride you will never forget. Now let's get into it. The collapse of Derek Carter didn't happen overnight. It happened in stages, like dominoes falling, one after another after another. And each one hit harder than the last. The first domino was the investors. When the divorce verdict went public, when the world found out that Derek's ex-wife owned 49% of his company, the financial world panicked. Investors don't like surprises. They especially don't like finding out that the CEO of a $15 billion company had been hiding a massive ownership liability for over a decade. Phone calls started coming in. Not the congratulatory kind. Not the great quarter, Derek kind. The what the hell is happening kind. Marcus Thompson was one of the first to call. Marcus was a veteran investor and board member. He had been with Carter Technologies since the early days. He was one of the original believers, one of the people who saw potential in Derek's vision before anyone else. But Marcus was also a businessman, and businessmen don't tolerate chaos. Derek, Marcus said over the phone. We need to talk about the situation. There is no situation, Derek snapped. My lawyers are handling the appeal. We're going to get those shares invalidated. This is a temporary setback. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Derek, I've spoken with our legal team, Marcus said carefully. The shares are valid. The agreement is ironclad. There is no appeal that's going to change that. Then we'll find another way, Derek said. I built this company. I'm not losing it to my ex-wife because of some piece of paper I signed when I was broke and stupid. Another silence. Derek, Marcus said slowly. That piece of paper exists because you were grateful once, because you recognized what Maya did for you, because you knew deep down that you couldn't have built this without her. Derek didn't respond. Question now, Marcus continued, isn't whether the shares are valid. The question is whether you can still lead this company. Because right now the market doesn't think you can. The board isn't sure either. And frankly, Derek, neither am I. The call ended. Derek threw his phone across the room. It shattered against the wall, but breaking things didn't fix anything. It never does. The second domino was Simone. For a while after the verdict, Simone stayed. She moved into Derek's penthouse. She attended events by his side. She played the role of supportive partner, but Maya had been right about Simone. Simone Blake didn't love Derek Carter. She loved what Derek Carter represented. And what Derek Carter represented was changing rapidly. The first sign came when Simone stopped answering his calls immediately. Then she started spending more time working late. Then came the excuses. I have a dinner meeting tonight. I'm flying to New York for a conference. I need some space to think. The same excuses Derek had once given Maya. Life has a funny sense of humor sometimes. One evening, Derek came home to find Simone packing a suitcase. What are you doing? Derek asked. Simone didn't look at him. I got an offer, Simone said. Chief operating officer at a tech firm in San Francisco. It's a great opportunity. Derek stared at her. Leaving, Derek said. It wasn't a question. Simone finally looked up, and Derek saw something in her eyes that he recognized, the same cold calculation he used to see in his own reflection. Derek, let's be honest with each other, Simone said. The company is in trouble. Your reputation is damaged. The board is turning against you. I can't afford to go down with this ship. Down with this ship, Derek repeated incredulously. I thought we were building a life together. I thought you loved me. Simone tilted her head slightly. I cared about you, Derek, Simone said. I did, but I also have my own career to think about, my own future. I can't sacrifice everything for someone else's sinking situation. Irony hit Derek like a freight train. Someone else's sinking situation. How many times had Maya stood by his side during his sinking situations? How many times had Maya refused to leave when things were falling apart? How many times had Maya sacrificed her own future for his, and he had thrown her away? For this woman who was now packing her designer luggage and walking out the door without looking back. Simone, Derek called after her as she reached the front door. Simone, wait! She stopped but didn't turn around. Was any of it real? Derek asked. His voice was quiet, almost broken. Simone paused, then she opened the door. Goodbye, Derek, Simone said. The door closed behind her, and Derek Carter stood alone in his empty penthouse, surrounded by expensive furniture and silence. The third domino was the board. 3 weeks after Simone left, the Carter Technologies Board of Directors held an emergency meeting. Derek sat at the head of the conference table. But for the first time, it didn't feel like his table. The room was tense. 12 board members sat in leather chairs, their faces serious. Some of them wouldn't meet Derek's eyes. Marcus Thompson sat at the far end of the table. He was the one who spoke first. Derek, Marcus began. We've called this meeting because we need to address the current state of the company. In the past 6 months, our stock price has dropped 43%. We've lost 4 major institutional investors. 3 senior executives have resigned. Employee morale is at an all-time low, and our biggest client, Federal Data Solutions, is threatening to terminate their contract. Derek opened his mouth to respond. Marcus held up a hand. I'm not finished, Marcus said. We've also received negative press coverage every single day for 6 months. Our brand reputation has been severely damaged. Potential partners are hesitant to work with us. Recruitment has stalled because talented people don't want to join a company in crisis. Marcus paused. And at the center of all this, Derek, is you, Marcus said. Derek's jaw tightened. So what are you saying, Marcus? Derek asked through clenched teeth. You're blaming me for this. Saying that the market has lost confidence in your leadership, Marcus replied. I'm saying that the scandal, the divorce, the public nature of all of it has created a perception problem that we cannot overcome as long as you remain in the CEO chair. Perception problem? Derek shot back. I built this company from nothing. I created ConnectFlow. I brought in every major investor. I negotiated every major deal. Without me, there is no Carter Technologies. Without Maya, there was no you, Marcus said quietly. The room went silent. Derek stared at Marcus. Excuse me, Derek said. Marcus met his gaze steadily. I remember the early days, Derek, Marcus said. I was one of your first investors. I remember meeting you for that first pitch. You were hungry, you were brilliant, you were driven, but you were also supported. You had someone behind you who believed in you completely. Someone who sacrificed everything so you could chase this dream. Marcus leaned forward. You forgot about her, Derek, Marcus continued. And in forgetting her, you forgot who you were. The man I invested in 10 years ago was humble. He was grateful. He was loyal. That man would never have done what you did. Derek looked around the table. Every face told the same story. They were done. Board has taken a vote, Marcus said. It was unanimous. Derek, we're removing you as CEO of Carter Technologies effective immediately. Derek felt the air leave his lungs. You can't do this, Derek whispered. This is my company. This is a publicly traded corporation with shareholders and stakeholders who depend on responsible leadership, Marcus corrected. The board has a fiduciary duty to protect the company, and right now, protecting the company means making a change at the top. Derek's hands were trembling. Derek asked, Who are you replacing me with? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that Derek never in a million years expected to hear. We've offered the position to Maya. The room swam. Derek grabbed the edge of the table. Derek breathed. Maya, my ex-wife, the woman who worked at a grocery store, you're making her CEO of a $15 billion technology company. We're offering the position to the woman who owns 49% of this company, Marcus said firmly. The woman who was there at the founding. The woman who believed in this vision before any of us did. The woman who understands the soul of this company in ways that, frankly, you've lost sight of. Doesn't know anything about running a company, Derek shouted. She knows more than you think, Marcus said. And more importantly, she has something you've lost. Trust. People trust Maya. Investors trust Maya. Employees trust Maya. The market needs to see that this company has leadership with integrity. Maya represents that. Derek slammed his fist on the table. This is insane, Derek spat. This is revenge. This is all of you punishing me because of the divorce. This is business, Derek, Marcus said calmly. The same business you taught us to prioritize above everything else. Derek looked around the room one more time. 12 faces, not one ally. He stood up slowly. His legs felt like they were made of water. All going to regret this, Derek said. Then he walked out of the boardroom. The door closed behind him. And just like that, Derek Carter was no longer the CEO of the company he built. The news broke the same day. And the world lost its collective mind. Every news channel, every social media platform, every podcast, every dinner table in America, everyone was talking about the same thing. Maya Richardson Carter had been offered the CEO position at Carter Technologies. The woman who used to clean office buildings was now being asked to run one of the most powerful technology companies in the country. Reporters camped outside Maya's hotel. Her phone rang nonstop. Patricia called screaming so loud Maya had to hold the phone away from her ear. Maya, girl, are you watching the news? Are you seeing this? CEO, they want you to be CEO. I told you, God, don't sleep. I told you what goes around comes around. Maya sat on the edge of her hotel bed, quiet, still processing, because this wasn't just a job offer, this was everything she had built without knowing she was building it, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every dollar invested. Every moment of invisible labor, all of it had led here. But Maya wasn't naive. She knew this wouldn't be easy. She knew people would doubt her. She knew they would question her qualifications. She knew they would say she was only there because of the shares. She knew the world was watching. And she knew she had to decide. Could she do this? Could she really run a company this large? Could she step into the spotlight that had once blinded her husband? Could she become the leader that Derek failed to remain? Maya picked up her phone. She called Denise Crawford. "Did you hear?" Maya asked. "Everyone heard," Denise said. "The question is, what are you going to do?" Maya was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her grandmother. She thought about Mama Gwen's hands, rough from years of hard work. She thought about her grandmother's voice, gentle but firm, always pushing Maya to be better, to be stronger, to never let anyone define her worth. "Baby," Mama Gwen used to say, "don't you ever let nobody tell you what you can't do. God didn't bring you this far to leave you. You hear me? Whatever he puts in front of you, you grab it with both hands and you hold on." Maya closed her eyes. "I'm going to do it," Maya said. "Are you sure?" Denise asked. "Never been more sure of anything in my life," Maya said. Maya accepted the position 3 days later. The announcement sent shockwaves through the business world. Headlines exploded. Grocery store worker to billionaire CEO. The Maya Carter story. Woman Derek Carter threw away just took his throne. Carter Technologies names founder's ex-wife as new CEO in stunning move. Reactions were split. Some people celebrated. They called Maya an inspiration, a symbol of resilience, proof that loyalty and hard work eventually pay off. Others were skeptical. They questioned her qualifications. They doubted her ability. They predicted failure. Maya heard all of it, and she let none of it stop her. Her first day as CEO was terrifying. She walked into the Carter Technologies headquarters in downtown Atlanta wearing a simple but elegant black suit. Her natural hair was pulled back. Her grandmother's gold cross hung around her neck. The lobby was enormous. Glass and steel and polished floors. Hundreds of employees watched her walk through, some with curiosity, some with hope, some with doubt. Maya met every gaze. She didn't flinch. She didn't falter. She walked into the executive conference room where the senior leadership team was waiting. 12 executives, all of them more experienced than her, all of them watching to see if she would sink or swim. Maya stood at the head of the table, the same table Derek used to dominate. She took a breath, then she spoke. "I know what you're thinking," Maya said. "You're thinking, who is this woman? What does she know about running a technology company? How is she going to lead us out of this crisis when she doesn't have an MBA or a degree in computer science or 20 years of corporate experience?" She paused. "And you're right to wonder," Maya continued. "I don't have those things, but I have something else. I have perspective. I know what it feels like to build something from nothing. I know what it feels like to sacrifice everything for a dream. And I know what it feels like to be overlooked and underestimated." Maya looked around the room. This company was built on a foundation of hard work, innovation, and belief in something bigger than ourselves, Maya said. "Somewhere along the way, we lost sight of that. We got distracted by ego and image and headlines. We forgot about the people who actually make this company work. The engineers, the designers, the customer service representatives, the people in this building who show up every day and give everything they have." She straightened her shoulders. "I'm not here to be Derek Carter," Maya said. "I'm here to be Maya Carter, and I'm here to bring this company back to what it was always supposed to be, a place where people matter, where integrity matters, where the work speaks louder than the name on the building." Silence. Then Marcus Thompson started clapping, slowly at first. Then others joined. Then the whole room was applauding, not because they were convinced she could do it, but because for the first time in a long time, someone had spoken to them like a human being, not a corporate machine, not a narcissistic genius, a human being. And that was exactly what Carter Technologies needed. "All right, let me tell you something. What Maya did over the next 3 years is the kind of thing they write books about, but I'm going to give you the real version. The version that shows you what happens when a woman stops living in someone else's shadow and starts walking in her own light. If this story is speaking to your soul right now, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Now let me finish telling you what happened. The first year was brutal. Maya made mistakes. She admitted them publicly. She stumbled in board meetings. She asked questions that revealed what she didn't know. Some people laughed. Some people whispered. But Maya did something that Derek never did. She listened. She surrounded herself with smart people and she listened to them. She spent time in every department. She sat with engineers and asked them to explain their work. She met with customer service teams and asked what complaints they heard most often. She visited satellite offices and had lunch with employees who had never met any CEO face to face. She learned the business from the ground up, the same way she had learned everything else in her life, through hard work, through humility, through refusing to quit. And slowly, things started to change. Maya implemented new employee policies that prioritized work-life balance. She restructured compensation packages to ensure fair pay at every level. She launched diversity initiatives that brought fresh perspectives into leadership. She invested in research and development that had been neglected during Derek's years of ego-driven spending. She also did something that shocked the business world. She apologized, publicly. To every client, every partner, every investor who had been affected by the scandal. "This company let you down," Maya said in a press conference. "The chaos of the past year was unacceptable, and while I wasn't the cause of it, I am now responsible for fixing it. I give you my word that Carter Technologies will earn your trust back, not with promises, with results." Business world took notice. Clients who had been threatening to leave stayed. Investors who had pulled out started coming back. New partnerships formed. New contracts were signed. Revenue started climbing. Stock prices stabilized, then started rising. By the end of her second year as CEO, Carter Technologies had recovered everything it lost during the scandal. By the end of her third year, the company was stronger than it had ever been under Derek. Profits had doubled. The stock price hit an all-time high. Employee satisfaction surveys showed record-breaking results. Industry publications named Carter Technologies the most improved company in the technology sector, and Maya Richardson Carter was named CEO of the Year by 3 different business magazines, the same award Derek had won years ago. But when the hosts asked Maya who deserved credit for her success, she gave a very different answer than her ex-husband. "This award belongs to every single person at Carter Technologies," Maya said. "Every engineer who stayed when things were uncertain. Every employee who believed in the company's future. Every partner who gave us a second chance. And especially to my grandmother, Gwendolyn Richardson, who taught me that character isn't what you show the world when things are easy. Character is what you hold on to when everything is falling apart." Audience stood, not because of obligation, because of respect, real respect, the kind that's earned through action, not demanded through power. Meanwhile, Derek Carter's life looked nothing like what he had imagined. After losing the company, Derek tried to reinvent himself. He launched a new startup. It failed within 8 months. He tried consulting. Nobody wanted his advice. He tried writing a book about leadership. The publisher dropped him when pre-orders came in embarrassingly low. The man who once commanded rooms with his presence now couldn't get a meeting. The man who once had thousands of contacts in his phone now had maybe a dozen who still answered his calls. The man who once had Simone Blake on his arm now ate dinner alone most nights. Simone had moved to San Francisco. She never called, she never texted. She disappeared as if she had never existed, which in a way was true, because what Derek had with Simone was never real. It was a transaction, a deal between 2 people who wanted something from each other, and when the terms changed, the deal was off. Derek learned something during those long, lonely months. He learned the difference between people who love you and people who love what you can give them. People who love you stay when things fall apart. People who love what you can give them pack designer luggage and walk out the door. One evening, Derek sat in his apartment watching a news segment about Carter Technologies. Maya was on screen, addressing a crowd of employees at the company's annual meeting. She looked different, not physically, but something about her had changed. She carried herself with a confidence that wasn't borrowed or dependent on anyone else. She spoke with authority that came from experience, not from ego. She smiled like a woman who had found her place in the world. Derek watched her for a long time, and he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Regret. Not regret about losing the company, not regret about losing the money, regret about losing her. The woman who saw him when he was invisible, the woman who believed when believing was foolish. The woman who loved him when he had nothing to offer except a dream and a broken laptop. Derek picked up a pen, and he wrote a letter. Maya received the letter 3 days later. She was sitting in her office, the same office Derek used to occupy when her assistant brought it in. "This was delivered by messenger," her assistant said. "No return address, but the handwriting." Maya looked at the envelope. She recognized the handwriting immediately. She stared at it for a long time, then she opened it. The letter was 3 pages long, handwritten, every word careful and deliberate. "Dear Maya, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to believe me. But I need to say these things even if they disappear into silence. I was wrong, not just about the divorce, not just about Simone, not just about the company. I was wrong about everything. I was wrong when I stopped holding your hand. I was wrong when I stopped saying your name. I was wrong when I looked at you and saw someone who didn't fit into my new world instead of seeing the woman who built that world with me. You didn't just support my dream, Maya. You were the dream. You were the reason any of it mattered. And I was too blind, too arrogant, too drunk on my own success to see it. I remember the bus stop. I remember the instant noodles. I remember the night you gave me your savings and I held you and promised I would never forget. I lied. I forgot. And losing you is the price I pay for that lie. I'm not writing this to ask for another chance. I know there isn't one. I'm writing this because I need you to know that somewhere underneath the man I became, the man you fell in love with still exists. He's ashamed. He's heartbroken. And he misses you more than words on paper could ever express. You deserved better than what I gave you. You always did. I'm sorry, Maya, for everything, Derek. Maya read the letter twice. Then she folded it carefully. She placed it in her desk drawer. And she sat quietly for a long time. She wasn't angry. She wasn't sad. She wasn't satisfied. She was at peace. Because Maya understood something that Derek was only beginning to learn. Some doors once closed cannot be reopened. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt. Some trust once broken cannot be restored. And that's not cruelty. That's consequence. Maya never responded to the letter. She didn't need to. Everything she needed to say, she had already said. Not with words, but with her life. 3 years after becoming CEO, Maya stood on a stage before 4,000 employees at Carter Technologies' annual celebration. The company had just posted its most profitable quarter in history. Revenue was up. Innovation was thriving. The culture had transformed into something remarkable. People didn't just work at Carter Technologies anymore. They believed in it, they were proud of it, and they were proud of the woman who led it. Maya looked out at the crowd, 4,000 faces, some she recognized. Some she didn't, all of them looking at her with something she had craved her entire life. Respect, real, earned, undeniable respect. Maya gripped the podium. 3 years ago, Maya began, I stood in a courtroom and watched my life fall apart. I lost my marriage. I lost my identity. I lost everything I thought defined me. She paused. But here's what I learned. When everything falls apart, you find out what was real and what was illusion. The marriage was real, but it had been broken long before the papers were signed. The pain was real, but it didn't last forever. And the woman standing inside all that wreckage, she was real too. She had always been real. She had just been invisible. Maya looked out at the audience. I wasn't born into wealth. I wasn't born into privilege. I was born into hard work and sacrifice and a grandmother who taught me that your value isn't determined by the person standing next to you. Your value is determined by the person standing in the mirror. She took a breath. I spent 10 years of my life building someone else's dream. And I don't regret it, because those years taught me something I couldn't have learned any other way. They taught me how to build. They taught me how to endure. They taught me how to believe in something bigger than myself. I straightened up, but they also taught me something else, something harder. They taught me that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved. And you cannot build a future on a foundation of someone else's gratitude. Because gratitude, like love, has to be maintained. It has to be fed. It has to be honored. And when it's not, she paused. When it's not, you have to find the courage to build your own foundation, your own dream, your own life. Audience was silent. Thousands of people completely still. Today, this company is thriving, Maya continued. Not because of me, because of you, every single one of you, the engineers who code through the night, the managers who mentor their teams, the assistants who keep everything running, the janitors who make sure this building is a place people want to come to every morning. Maya smiled. You are Carter Technologies, not a name on a building, not a face on a magazine, you. And I am honored, truly honored, to lead alongside you. Crowd erupted, 4,000 people on their feet, cheering, clapping, some wiping tears. Maya stood at that podium and let the moment wash over her. She thought about the bus stop where she met Derek. She thought about the instant noodles they shared in that tiny apartment. She thought about the $1,200 she withdrew from her savings. She thought about the awards ceremony where her name was never mentioned. She thought about the messages on the tablet. She thought about the cold voice that said, I don't love you anymore. She thought about the courtroom. She thought about the verdict. She thought about the letter in her desk drawer. She thought about all of it. And she realized something powerful. Every single moment of her life, the beautiful and the brutal, had led her to this stage. Every sacrifice had been a seed. Every heartbreak had been a lesson. Every tear had watered something she couldn't see growing. And now, standing before thousands of people who believed in her, Maya finally understood. She had never been standing in Derek's shadow. She had always been the light. He just stood in front of it. And when he moved out of the way, the whole world could finally see her shine. As the applause thundered through the auditorium, Maya looked up, and she whispered 2 words that only she could hear. "Thank you, Mama." Somewhere, in a place beyond time and pain and regret, Gwendolyn Richardson smiled. Her grandbaby had made it. Not because someone carried her, because she finally learned to carry herself. Now let me leave you with this. Maya's story isn't just about a woman who lost a marriage and gained an empire. It's about something deeper than that. It's about the people we overlook, the people we take for granted, the people who hold us up when we can't stand on our own and then get forgotten when we learn to fly. It's about the wife who works 2 jobs so her husband can chase his dream. It's about the friend who shows up every time you call, even when you never call back. It's about the mother who sacrifices her own ambitions so her children can have better ones. It's about every person who has ever given everything to someone who gave nothing in return. This story is for you. And the lesson is simple. Never forget the people who built you. Because the hands that lifted you up are the same hands that held you when you were nothing. And if you forget those hands, if you let go of them, if you push them away, don't be surprised when those same hands build something greater, without you. And the second lesson is this. If you are Maya, if you are the one being overlooked, if you are the one being taken for granted, if you are the one giving everything and receiving nothing, know your worth. Because one day the world will see what you've always known. You were never the shadow. You were always the light. Thank you for watching this story from beginning to end. If Maya's journey touched your heart, if it made you think about the people in your life who deserve more gratitude, more recognition, more love, then share this video with them. Tag someone who needs to hear this. And remember, every story we tell here is designed to move you, challenge you, and remind you of what matters. Hit that subscribe button. Ring that notification bell. And I will see you in the next story. Until then, take care of the people who take care of you. Because loyalty is the rarest currency in the world. And the people who spend it on you are worth more than any empire. This has been the story of Maya Richardson Carter, the woman who signed away her marriage and inherited an empire, not through revenge, not through luck, through character. And character, my friends, is the one thing money can never buy. The end.